Hey everyone, welcome on this Wednesday evening for me. Thanks for tuning in again on another episode of What Now. This will be a part 2 with the incredible Romeo Johnson, who I spoke to last week, and we weren't able to put all of his experiences in 1 hour, so we left a lot of things untalked about, and I really wanted to make sure that that we touch on enough things to provide everyone with the information and tools to survive in this industry, so to speak, or to be successful. Let's just keep it positive. Hope everyone is doing well. Thank you again for joining. I hope the week has been great for everyone. And let's wait until he comes in here. Last week we discussed a whole bunch of things, starting with his career, how he came up, what he's doing, and there was just so much in his career that he's done that we were not able to discuss everything, which is obviously we can't do that in 2 hours either, but we're just going to make the most of it. Thanks for joining, and let's wait until he gets here. I honestly am really bad at these monologues, especially when it's somebody that I've already talked to. If you have missed the first talk that I've had with him, then please go to my IGTV and watch it. It's very insightful and very inspirational. I see Romeo coming in here. Let's see if Romeo, again, unable to join. It must be the yeah, it's not letting you in. We had the same problem last week as well, so maybe switch over to another device like last week. What's up, Daryl? What's up, Bink? Thank you for joining. Romeo's device will not let him join, which was the same case last week. So let's see. For those who have missed the first talk, we discussed his career, working with Janet and Michael Jackson, working as a vocal coach with talent all over the world. And then the hour was up. We discussed Teddy Riley. And we definitely did not have enough time for 1 hour, and I'm sure we won't have enough time for the second hour either, for these 30 plus years of experience in this industry. But we're going to do our best to give out as much inspiration, motivation, and information and knowledge to make your career in this industry. If you have any questions, please make sure you put them in the question box. I will make sure to try and get to all of them. Okay, let's see. You switched. There we go. I like everybody being on time because I'm so bad at monologues. I seem to manage, but there we go.
Hey,
is it the same device that you used like last week?
yeah, I think this is just gonna have to be my go-to until I figure out what the other issue is.
Well, doesn't matter. We made it work. At least you have two devices.
Yes,
How
Lord.
are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you for having me back again.
Well, thank you for wanting to come back. And I was just addressing that. I'm sure we won't be able to discuss everything in 2 hours, but we're going to do our best to provide the people with inspiration and information, so to speak.
For sure.
Okay, so people, if you are coming in, you have missed the first talk, it is available to watch on my IGTV. So we will not revisit topics that we spoke on, which is how he started in his career, how it was working with Janet and Michael. We discussed Teddy. We discussed business failures and all that sort of stuff. Where I wanted to pick up, because I did make a list of stuff that I want to address in this hour, which I normally don't really do with my talks. I just wing it. But I wanted to make sure we covered some of the stuff that should be good for the viewers. One of the things that I've talked about with a lot of my guests is networking. We discussed it last week, and you said, make sure you're a pleasant person, make sure your integrity is on point. With networking comes relationship building. You and I have talked, outside of Instagram, and you always mention, I've known this person for X amount of years, and I've known that person for X amount of years. And it's amazing for me to hear that you have these long-lasting friendships and relationships in this business. What
Yeah.
to you has been the biggest value of building those relationships?
The biggest, well, relationships are everything, and I don't know how to stress that enough. It goes beyond how well you play your instrument or sing, or whatever you do. Relationships can get you in the doors that money can't, can get you in the doors that your talent can't. And sometimes even when you get into the doors, it's the relationships that you build that gets you called back. Um, for me, a lot of us started, a lot of the people that I know, we all kind of started in the early 90s. So Teddy is one, and Dave Hollister, and everybody. It's like for some reason that right around the early 90s was like this big sweep of newcomers to LA, and it was a good time for us. Like I said, Vesta Williams was one that gave a lot of us an early start, and we just kind of grew together. So it became almost like siblings. But the thing that builds the relationships, I think, is just understanding the balance of respecting people for who they are, making sure that they understand who you are, so you're respected. And if you can figure out how to maintain your integrity, and I don't even like to say demand, because there are times you do have to demand respect, but hopefully if you show who you are, you'll just get the respect. And then respect other people, and they start to see that you're consistent. If you're consistent,
Right.
people value that so much. Being consistent and reliable is invaluable.
Yeah. And so what has that brought you? What are some of the examples that you can give us that really made a difference in your career in the industry by having those relationships with respect and values?
Okay, I'm gonna try to make this really short. That could be the hour right there.
Just pick a few.
That's the
Pick
hour.
one.
Booyah. So,
Well, and
so
you know what? It is good. It is good that you have a lot of those examples, because that only stresses how important relationships are. So
it's everything. It's my everything. Literally. Again, I've stressed that I've never had a manager, and I've never had an agent. So my entire career was relationships.
right.
Period.
That's
So
amazing.
it started off with a relationship with Ollie Woodson, who was the lead singer for the Temptations, that I met back in my hometown. When I came to LA, we bumped into each other, and he said, "Man, come play in my band." I was his bass player for a minute, then I became his singer. Well, that in itself was a great blessing to start for me, because everybody loved Ollie Woodson. He was like the singer. So because
Right.
I was the hot backup singer, and I would do like harmonies with him a lot, people start to know, hey, that's you, Ollie's boy. I'd be someone brand new in LA, and people like, you Ollie's boy. And I'm like, yes, sir. That's who I am, Ollie's boy, whatever you want. Yeah. So I remember doing, just to show you the value of relationships, I remember doing a show with Ollie once, and there was a guy sitting in the audience. I talk about this all the time, because I really give this guy credit for the really launching everything that I've done. But there's a guy who's sitting in the audience, and I could tell that he was a singer because he reacted to every vocal thing that Ollie and I did, right?
Right.
And I could tell, like, yeah, he picked up, because some things will go over the average listener's head. I'm like, that dude's a singer. And when I came off stage, he said, man, you guys were killing. What, do you sing with Ollie exclusively? I'm like, no. I said, well, would you do some work around town? I'm like, absolutely. I'm trying to build my name. What's your name? His name was Will Wheaton, right? Will
Oh,
Wheaton
wow.
is, Will Wheaton, okay? So Will Wheaton was still to this day is one of my close friends. We talk literally every day. We're sending each other's silly stuff on Instagram or whatever to laugh at. And it's funny because Will is in the music industry. We all know Will, but he's not like a household name. And a lot of times when people ask me, well, who helped you get started? I'm like, Will Wheaton. Who's that? I'm like, trust me, it's my dude, right? Will literally introduced me to everybody that connected me to everything that I've done. Period.
That's amazing.
So, so that went from him introduced me to a guy named Tony, who introduced me to Vesta Williams. I did that tour. I did Vesta Williams. My friend Scott Mayo, who I met through Will, turned me on to the audition for Jody Watley. I went to Jody Watley.
Wow.
As I'm doing the Jody Watley gig, a substitute tour manager came in, because our tour manager was out on, I think his wife was pregnant or something. So a substitute came in. We clicked. His name was Mark St. Louis, who ended up being like one of my mentors and best friend. Mark said, man, you're really good. would you ever consider working with Sheena Easton? You know who Sheena Easton is? I said, yeah. He said, well, that's my full-time gig. If anything ever opens, I'm gonna call you. I'm like, do that. And then I finish that gig, and he calls me for Sheena's gig. As I'm doing Sheena's gig, I'm telling you, I'm flying through this. As I'm doing Sheena's gig, Mark St. Louis, who was the tour manager, became one of my really close friends, is married to Patrice Rushen. So, of course, I've been a huge fan of Patrice Rushen since forever. And then the Janet tour came up, and they called Patrice to be the musical director and put the band together. And Patrice said, hey, would you want to come and audition for this gig? Yes. So it goes on and on and on.
It's a snowball effect because you were respectful and you were a pleasant person, like we spoke about in the first part.
And you have to be good at what you do.
Right. And you have to have talent, obviously.
You have to make sure that the artist feels comfortable knowing that you can handle what they've assigned you to.
Right. But like you said, talent alone is not enough in this industry.
Right.
What I do want to address is that, you know, you being in LA, or at least in the United States, it seems like when you meet people in the industry, because every area has their little clique, so to speak.
Exactly.
Like even over here in the Netherlands, you know, if you know one person, then you kind of know all of them. So for you being American and being in LA at that point helped facilitate those relationships and further your career. Now, if people that are not in the United States are trying to set foot on the ground wherever they are or in the States, a lot of people still look at, you know, Hollywood and all of that as the place to build a career, which is a whole other topic. But how would you advise these people to go about it? Because again, every place has their, I guess, their group of industry folk.
Right.
Same way.
Well, I mean, right. Now we have social media, which we, of course, did not have when I was trying to do my networking and build my name. And, you know, all I can say is that you can utilize that. You still have to have relationships, though. You know what I mean? Because even though now you can reach out to people and connect via social media, you're just one of millions. You still have to have someone to speak for you or to present you or put you up in front of the line or the stack, whatever you want to say. But if you're in another country and you're trying to pursue this thing, you know, and in my opinion, LA is still the place. I mean, if you're trying to get started and create something, that's still, I mean, I'm not saying you have to be there, but in my opinion, that's the best place to be to start your network if you're trying to do this at the top level. So yeah, I mean, if you're in another country, I would say do some research. Even back in the day, before internet and all of that, that's what led me to LA. Like I was, you know, I'm ancient, so that was back in the day where I used to look at the, I used to look at the credits, right? On the, it wasn't even CDs, it was the albums when I was coming up, right? Right.
It's
so I used to look at the credits.
I looked at the credits.
Okay, good. Thank you. I feel better now. So I would read the credits. And I always wanted to know who the bass player was for every band. Who's the bass player? Who's the bass player? Oh, you too, right? So I would look that up. And then after a while, when I decided this is what I really want to pursue for a business or a career, then I start looking at management, right? So it's a really funny story. Oh, my God. I noticed that this guy, Clarence Avant, was managing all of my favorite artists. You know, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, L.A. Reid, Babyface,
like,
all that.
I got to get to him.
I'm like, man. So again, this is before cell phones, before internet and this thing. This was when you had to pay for every single long distance, you know, so I'm sneaking on my mom's phone, calling long distance, right? And I don't know what made me do this, but I looked up the number, right? And I called him, his office. I don't even know why I did it, but they actually put him on the phone, right? So this lady answered the phone. She goes, hello, Clarence Avant's office. I said, can I speak to Clarence Avant? She said, yeah, who's calling? I'm like, Romeo Johnson, right? And so she goes, is he expecting you? I'm like, no. She said, well, what is this regards to? I said, management. I'm looking for management. I didn't have anything to manage. I had nothing to manage, right? So I'm like 18, maybe 17, 18.
You're bluffing.
So he picks up the phone. Clarence Avant. I'm like, click.
Oh, no, did you hang up?
Oh, my God. Oh
Oh
my God!
wow,
Check this
that's
out.
crazy.
I was like, oh, I was
You
in
did
such
not
shock
hang
that he
up.
answered.
That's
Man, man,
hilarious.
man, let me tell you something. I hung the phone up and I was freaking out. I was like, what in the world did I just do? Like, did he really? I know, right? My man said, no. So I'm like,
Yeah, Daryl
what?
was screaming, no.
Oh, no. Right? I'm like, what did I just do? So I freaked out because I'd never been out of Chattanooga. I was like, he answered the phone. Like, what was I even calling for, right? What was I even calling? So, so all of a sudden, I'm like, wait, he answered the phone now. So then my mind started to turn. I'm like,
Yeah.
get your together.
Yeah,
Because
get your
now
shit together.
you see that you can actually contact, you can reach it. It's doable. Because when I
And
came
it's
up, it
even
seemed
easier
like it was
now.
so unattainable.
But
Oh my God, it's super easy
it's
now. It's
the
super
fact,
easy
yeah,
now.
the fact that you got him on the phone. For those who don't know this man, there's a documentary on Netflix called The Black Godfather.
Oh my
Watch
God,
it
love it.
so you know who he's talking about. So you know that we're all freaking out that he hung up the phone when he had him on the phone.
And let me just explain something to you. I didn't even know I didn't know his power at that time. All I knew is that he managed Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. And that,
Right.
anyway, let me let you finish. Sorry.
Did you see the documentary?
Like 3 times?
Right, exactly.
Like 3
So
times?
a lot of people don't know who this man is. Go watch it, people, because he's like probably the most influential person and the most
In the business.
incredible business mind in this industry, period. Like I
Yeah.
would put him above a Russell Simmons or whoever.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
I would.
like people don't understand,
Sure.
man. It's those people that you don't know about that are actually doing stuff.
Making things happen.
Yeah.
And they're the ones behind the people that we look up to and admire. They're the ones that got them started.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So going back to that story, for us now, it's easier to reach out to people. You can just hit them up on Instagram or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So for you, that was a big thing. So you hung up, or he hung up. No, you hung up. You hung up. And what did you do then? Did you ever revisit it, calling him, or did you just get your stuff together?
So let me tell you what's crazy about my life. At that point, I thought, okay, Rome, so get your package together, get your stuff together. This is attainable. You see that you could contact him. What if you had something to present? He was ready to receive. So I started working on myself. Again, I was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm working on my skills. I'm trying to hone everything. And my goal was one day I'm going to go to California and I'm going to meet this guy, right? Then it was up in the air. Should I tell him that I was the guy that hung up or should I never say anything? But I wanted to meet him. And then I kind of set my goals on things that I wanted to do. It was really weird. I wanted to meet him more than anyone. I've never met him. Everybody that I know knows him. Like all my friends are close to him. He and Teddy are close. A lot of people close. I've never met.
Oh, that Romeo Johnson that hung up on me.
All right. So you the little dude that hung up on me 800 years ago. But I've always wanted to meet him. I was a huge. Obviously, everyone knows I'm the biggest Prince fan ever. So I always wanted to work with Prince, and I always wanted to work with Babyface. I was a big fan of Babyface back in the deal when he was with the deal, and I ended up coming to LA. I got myself together. I came to LA, and I had nothing. I knew nobody, and I just grinded and prayed and grinded and prayed. And the funny thing is, I have worked with so many people in the industry, and except those people. Like the main 3 people that I wanted to work with.
That'll always happen.
But I still think that I'm going to get to meet him. I pray that one day. It's funny because one of the questions you asked me at the end of the last segment.
Who you would want to work with? Yeah.
Who would I work with? And I would have to say Babyface and Latifah.
Well, that's easy. He's on Instagram too.
And I'm really good friends with his wife. His wife was a dancer with Janet Jackson.
So what happened? And Teddy, you're friends with Teddy, so
Nothing happened. I just got to pursue it.
Life is too short, man. Shoot your shot.
Shoot your shot, huh? Yes, ma'am.
Shoot your shot. You're never too old to shoot your shot.
That's right. Hey, I like that. You're never too old to shoot your shot. Y'all
Yeah, and
heard that.
with everything going on, I mean, I always wanted to meet Prince, and that never happened. So
I
can't
met
do it
him.
anymore because I didn't shoot
Yeah.
my shot at the time that I had
Yeah.
the chance. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I've met him.
sad about that.
I was playing bass with Sheena Easton, and he came to a gig, and I was actually doing. I did "You've Got the Look" and "Sugar Walls" with Sheena Easton every night, and he was in the front row one day, and I was doing the song, and I looked down right at the end of my verse. I looked down, and he did like that, and I was like, "Yikes!" Because if I'd seen him at the beginning of the verse, I would have messed up. I probably
You were
forgot the lyrics. I'd have been.
right.
It'd have been a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I did meet him, but. Yeah, I never really got a chance to work with him like I wanted to work with him.
Well, at least you got to meet him. I just wanted to meet him, and even if I never got to talk to him, I just wanted to meet him. And I was like probably 3 times within reach, and I just didn't shoot my shot.
Wow.
I thought I had time.
I hear you. That's why you're so serious about shooting the shot nowadays, because you didn't shoot your shot.
That's what I'm saying, man. Babyface, go get it. Shoot your shot.
That's what's up. All right, I'm gonna do it.
Okay, so we talked about your touring in part 1, who you all toured with, how it was working on tour, the difference between working with Janet and Michael. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, because you've been so heavily on tour, what for you is one of the most important things to stay on top of while you're touring, other than, you know, knowing your gig, but also physically and mentally? Because I come across a lot of people that tour. I do the interviews when they're here, and they eat bad, they sleep bad, your schedule's off, you got to be on the go, you got to sleep on a plane or a bus. What are some of the things that you had to learn from the experience of touring that you had to do to stay physically and mentally fit?
That was hard, and like as you said, the schedules you don't really have control over. You know, when you have to get up and go, and sometimes you're working all day and you don't have access, you know. So it sounds good. Everyone says, you know, well, you should maybe pack snacks and stuff like that. People are more conscious of it now. But honestly, when I was touring, we were just trying to grind to make sure that the hit was on point. And by the time we finished, it was late. Everyone was starving. And then the artist would order like 20 pizzas or, you know, whatever crap late at night. And we kill it. And then we go to sleep so we can get up at 4:30 in the morning for lobby call or whatever.
Exactly.
So it was horrible. It was pretty horrible. Thank God I was younger at the time, and you know, when you're young, your body's more resilient. But it is important. I think a lot of people are much more conscious of it these days than when I was touring. But I will say that there were a few things that I made sure that I, you know, took as far as supplements were concerned. There's this a product that's called Wellness Formula, the Wellness Formula.
Okay.
And it's really good. You know, it has a whole bunch of natural things in it. You take it, it keeps you healthy. So that was one thing that was turned on to me. And then vocally, there's a product that I've been endorsing for 25 years or more, probably. I mean, I had Vesta taking it. It's a gargle and a nasal wash, so it would help us a lot vocally, and it helped us with sinuses. It's called Alkalol, not alcohol. People are like, oh, I take alcohol all the time. No, it's called
alcohol's always on the road.
Alcohol, I've been doing that. But it's called Alkalol, Alkalol. Normally would have a bottle right beside me. Sorry, Alkalol. But those are my peaks. I've been, you know what? I'm gonna have to show it to you before we're done. But I've been endorsing this company, and the CEO and myself are really good friends, and we talk, and you know, that helps a lot, especially with singers.
So what does it do?
It's a mucus solvant. So it's a nasal wash, and it's a nasal wash and a mucus solvant. So if you're a vocalist, it helps take mucus off of your vocal cords, help you sing clear. If you have sinus issues or drainage, you know, you would use it with a neti pot, so to go through your whole sinus cavity and flush everything out. And
not for me.
No, it's dope. It's dope though. Huh?
I don't like stuff going up my nose. This is why I could never do
well, that may be a really good thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Some things you don't need going up your nose.
Like even with my hay fever, my allergies, I one time tried a nasal spray. Could not do it. Couldn't do it.
Really?
Like, nope. Nothing's going up my nose. No blow, nothing.
Wow. Well, this would definitely be an issue with you, because you literally put it in one nostril, and it's not a mist. It's a wash. So it goes in your nostril.
Yeah, I
And
can't do it, man.
it
Can't,
flushes your sinus cavity out and come out.
I
I've
guess I
had
will
so
never be
many
a singer.
people listen. But it helps people who aren't singers too that have sinus issues. Everyone. Trey does it. Vesta did it. Priyanka Chopra does it. I think I tried to get Neo to do it. He was like you. Neo was like, I feel like I'm gonna drown.
Yeah, I'll just
You ain't gonna
sing
feel
or
like you're gonna
something.
drown. Say
That's
again.
me. No. I once did an interview with
was.
Neo on the phone. That's funny.
Oh
I should
yeah.
talk to him again. Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
I was in a pool of journalists from Def Jam, and they would call me every night when they had a press day. So they would do all these phone calls, and I remember he was yawning all the time because he was tired. It was really there's a couple of phone interviews. Yeah, a couple of phone interviews that I did, and I never wanted to do phoners again because they make for the worst interviews. You can't interact with somebody. They're you're one of the many that they got to just go through, and it's just. So I declined. I literally declined things with Fabulous and Snoop Dogg because I just didn't want to do the phoners. I'm like, we'll just revisit when they come here or something. But yeah,
I feel you.
It's not my thing.
Yeah,
I don't want to do an interview and it's not my best work.
Right.
Because then I can say I did an interview with Neo, but I'm not promoting it. Like it's online somewhere, but nah, it's really tough.
Yeah, they have crazy schedules too, and sometimes if you're on the phone and you don't have the visual to keep you engaged, it can you can drift off. I'm sure.
It's really bad, and I didn't fault them for that, but it didn't do anything for me because I'm trying to do a job, and if it's just gonna be yawning and disinterest, then I'm just not gonna talk to you.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. Let's talk about The Voice.
Mm-hmm.
So, for those who don't know, this gentleman here has been the coach for The Voice. What's it? Seasons 1 to 4 in the US.
Yep.
How was that, and how did that start for you? How did they ask you?
Well, I'd already done an MTV show with P. Diddy and Mark Burnett called Star Maker. That was a show that I actually we taped before making his band. It actually aired after making his band, but we actually taped it first. But that's where I met and worked with Mark Burnett initially. And in that band was a good friend of mine. The band for Star Maker was a good friend of mine, musical director. His name is Paul Merkovich. And so Paul and I worked on a lot of jingles and things together. I went on and did making his band. At that time, it was right around the time where American Idol was having guys come in with wedding dresses and people were singing. It was like a joke.
Right.
And that was right when people were like, okay, we're kind of getting tired of American Idol because they're being ridiculous right now. And so I got a call from Paul Merkovich, and he said, hey, man, it's a new TV show coming up, and we need a vocal expert to travel with the casting because we have a casting company that's going out. But my man, we have I got some of the best sons in the world. My son brought me a bottle of alcohol so you can see.
Oh, cool. That's your assistant for the day. Alcohol.
That's it. Thank you, Nick. So, Paul says we have this new TV show coming out, and we need a vocal expert to go with the casting because we got a great casting team, but we want someone who really knows vocals because the show is about singing. I'm like, okay. I'm like, is it going to be like American Idol or something like that? And Paul goes, yeah. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to do it. And he's like, you sure? It's going to be nice. And I said, man, this stuff is crazy right now. He goes, nah, I think this is going to be dope. He said, it's actually focused on vocals, and it's going to be called The Voice. And when the judges judge the contestants, they don't see them. They're going to be in chairs with their backs turned, so they don't know what their age is, their ethnicity. And I was like, dang, that's kind of dope, right? So then it got my interest. I was like, that's cool. I'm like, okay, so it's based on the singing. He says, yeah. He said, and it's a Mark Burnett production. I'm like, oh, I'm in. So that's how that started. And I went to tour the country with the casting agency, or the casting team. And that was fun. And during that process, some of the producers literally saw me correct some singers in different cities. Like a lot of times singers would come and audition, and I'm like, yeah, you dope, but you know what? do that again and breathe this way. Do this again. You'll form your mouth this way. Place it here, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, yikes, you just totally changed him in like 5 seconds.
Yeah,
and
just
so he's
one
like,
little tweak. Yeah.
One tweak. And they were like, you should consider being the vocal coach for the show. We need one. I'm like, word? So we discussed it, and that's what happened. And then I was very instrumental in helping pick the first 4 judges, CeeLo, Adam, Christina, not necessarily Blake, because Blake was actually, we picked the first 3, and at the last minute they realized we needed somebody to represent country. And I wasn't familiar with Blake Shelton at that time. Yeah, and then he came and was just the bomb. He's like one of the coolest guys ever. But yeah, I coached every contestant for the first 4 seasons pretty much. So no matter what team you're on,
Right,
if you
I was
perform,
about to say, yeah.
especially past the chairs. So
right, yeah.
There were so
The
many
next rounds, yeah.
There were so many competing for the blind audition that we would get other coaches coming. I would pull in like 2 or 3 other coaches sometimes and say, listen, let's break this up, because it would be like 160 something contestants. Right. And then we would narrow them down to like 60 something. And then after that first round, then I would coach the rest of them for the rest of the show.
Well, you know, you and I spoke on this, but I don't know if The Voice over here works the exact same way as The Voice in the United States. But
it started there.
Huh?
The Voice started there.
Yeah, The Voice
started in Holland.
Yeah, it's a production from over here. I think American Idol as well.
I didn't know that.
There's a couple of reality shows that started from, you know, production house over here. But I'm not a fan of The Voice because I had very negative experiences with one of my artists. And I don't want to say too much about it, because if people want to, you know, enter this competition, do your thing. Just know that it is not all it's propped up to be on TV. That's all I'm going to say.
This is so good. This is so good. This is good.
I didn't sign no contract with them. I didn't work with them, so I can say this. If people want to know more, you can hit me up. Feel free to hit me up. But again, I don't know if it works the same in every country, but I mean, the format is pretty much the same. That's all I'm going to say. And none of my artists will ever be recommended to join that show. And if they do, then I'm probably out. Okay. Moving on.
So how do you feel about the... No, I'm just kidding.
You already know. Like, don't put yourself in a situation where you can't say nothing.
I can't say nothing. No, I'm just kidding.
I wanted to talk about... I wanted to ask you one thing about P. Diddy. Because I don't know if he was Puff Daddy at the time or P. Diddy, who knows, or Diddy.
I call him Puff.
Okay, so what is the biggest lesson you learned from him, working with him, or watching him work?
A lot, actually.
I asked for the biggest. We're not going to do it 20-minute run.
Let me think. So out of my lot, let me think. The biggest lesson I've learned is to... Well, he told me when we first started doing the first television show, he said to me, I love what you've done with me and Cassie. I'm going to give you this opportunity. He said, and I'm giving you a platform. He said, every week you're going to be on television with your face and your name. If you don't take that and build your own brand, it's not on me. So the lesson I learned is that you got to take every platform and try to use it to build your brand. That's your everything. That's the biggest lesson. There's a ton of other lessons, but that was really, the one I think.
Yeah, that's one that I feel like is typically Puff because of how he does his branding and how he started when he started in the music industry. I think that is probably the biggest example of what you really have to pay attention to when you enter this industry. Like, what do you want? Where do you want to take your brand? But the fact that he gave you that opportunity and you took it, do you feel like you took that advice from him and made the best out of it from that opportunity?
I think it was somewhat delayed because I'll be honest with you, I didn't understand. I didn't understand the magnitude of that at the time. You have to
Right.
understand, I'm very much a background mentality person. I like being the bass player. I like
Right.
being the backup singer. I'm totally good with that. You know,
Yeah.
up until Diddy, everything I did, if you knew me, it's because you were a musician and you were in the game. I wasn't,
Right. Industry
and that's not
flow.
my thing. And I dug that. I loved it because every artist that I worked with, I saw them dealing with a lot of craziness, lies being told on them, you know, whatever. They can be nice to 49 people in the 50th one. They say we got to go now. Then that's the
Right.
50th one's one that post the next day. There'll be, you know what I'm saying? So I was good being behind the scene. So I really didn't even understand that at first. It was delayed. Later,
Right.
some things happened, and Puff's A&R guy, really good friend of mine named Shannon. We, actually, he has a product called Whiz Pack. You've probably seen the backpack with the speakers.
Yeah.
Check him out. Anyway, we call him Slam. Slam was the one later that was like, listen, you gotta really, you know, you gotta take this by the horn. And I was like, yeah, Diddy told me, blah, blah, blah. And he was kind of the one that kind of reiterated and kind of ignited it. So I think, yeah, Puff gave that to me, and it was a seed planted. I think Slam watered it, and I finally caught on to it.
Well, it doesn't matter because it's still stuck with you, and it's still the first thing
It's
that you
stuck.
mentioned in this conversation. So,
Definitely the
just
most
because
important.
because somebody tells you something, you don't necessarily have to immediately get it or
Right.
apply it. It has to, like, be processed or simmer a little bit and marinate, and then or have the right situation to actually apply it too, because that doesn't always
Exactly.
happen
Exactly.
either.
That's true.
Okay, let's talk about. Okay, I don't want to forget this one. I'm still waiting on the book. Is it in the mail?
It's in the mail. It's on you. Thank you, first of all. Thank you for supporting. And
You're
it is
welcome.
on its way all the way to Amsterdam.
Somebody better not
You will
steal
have it
that book.
soon. It's on its way. I got it right out to you.
So yes, so Romeo wrote a book, and I can't wait to read it. Honestly, I should have read it before our talk, but hey, I didn't know Amadeus was so gracious to link us,
Man.
and so now I'm anxiously waiting on the book. Honestly, I should have ordered two, because I had a little win thing with my last conversation. I spoke to Jason Hatchen, who wrote a book, and I read his book.
Mm-hmm.
And then this mix up, I got two copies now. So I told in the talk, hey, whoever wants to win this extra copy I got, let me know.
Ah,
A little
okay.
giveaway thing. So I should have done that with yours as well. I may still do that.
You can still do it. I'll send it to whoever the winner is.
Oh, cool. Well, I'll think of a question, and at the end of this one, I'll throw it out there.
For sure.
Okay, so the book. Tell us a little bit about how the book came about. Short. I'm looking at the time; it's just ticking away.
Bananas, man. So the book it's just the way that it came about is when I started touring. When I moved from Chattanooga to LA, I started touring. The first thing that people started to ask me was, how'd you get that gig? You know, that's dope. How'd you get the gig? And I'm like, oh, I just, this person told me or that person told me. And then the next gig came, hey, how'd you get that gig? And so eventually they were like, well, who's your manager? I'm like, I don't have a manager. He said, well, who's your agent? I'm like, I don't have an agent. Now, this was funny at the time. I didn't even know that was something I was supposed to be going after, right? So I'm like, I don't have that, right? And so they were like, well, how do you know what to do? How do you get the right place at the right time? This was the late 80s, early 90s, right at 89, 90. I said, I literally get up every day and I pray to God leads me to the right people and moves me from the wrong people. That's literally my daily prayer still, honestly.
Right.
So I'm like, that's what it is. So I follow his lead. You know what I'm saying? Of course, the majority of people didn't want to hear that. They were like, oh, okay, that's cool. But like, what do you do though? Like, that's it. But then what else? So I'm like, that's it. Right. So then, of course, things start to progress. And then my career starts to get more and more embellished and blessed. And people are like, how are you doing this? And after so many years, I thought, okay, what am I doing? And I realized I'm doing nothing but what I've said in the first place. And then, so the book is called Following the Voice. So it's basically talking about how my career started from Chattanooga, Tennessee, all the way to traveling the world with the biggest artists in the world, mainly Michael Jackson. And,
Yeah.
you know, how all of that happened from following the voice of
The
God.
voice.
Now,
Yeah.
obviously, it was a play on words because I'd been the vocal coach of The Voice for
The voice.
4
Yeah.
or 5 years or whatever, however long that was. Right. So I knew it was going to be kind of cool because people were going to think, oh man, he's about to talk about what he's doing after The Voice.
Oh,
But
that's a
it
sales
was
pitch.
actually,
That's
yeah, it's a
clickbait.
little play on words. But yeah, the book is literally talking about my career, all the things that we're talking about, the experiences, learning about integrity, learning about respect. I told a few stories and from my career that I think will help people understand how to navigate through this business when
Right.
certain scenarios come up. You know, so it was just basically meant to give my perspective on how to have a successful career in this game without selling out, without giving
Right.
up your integrity and things like that.
Well, that's amazing because the funny thing is that most of the books that I read and that I own are those type of books from artists or
Mm-hmm.
industry people that tell their story and also have a lot of tools in the book
Right.
for people that want to make it in the industry in whatever way or form, which is why I read Jay Hash's book as well. So I'm definitely curious to read yours. I
I
guess
can't wait. I
it
want to
kind
hear
of,
what you think.
yeah, I'll definitely let you know. It kind of ties in with me being a music journalist because I like that information. I want to know how people move in this industry because it is a crazy industry, and how they
Mm-hmm.
maintain. I went to, talking about the voice of God, I went to TD Jake's Mega Fest a couple years
Yeah.
ago. I was
Yeah.
there on invitation of my good friend Malik Yoba, the actor, and he was in a
Mm-hmm.
panel, and I didn't know what it was. He's like, "Hey, I'm on a panel in Dallas. Let's fly you over, and we'll hang out." So I went there. It turned
Okay.
out to be this mega fest, and it was the Family and Film Festival, but it was all centered around being a Christian in Hollywood and maintaining integrity and faith while reaching your goals as an actor or a film producer or whatever. And it was so interesting
Absolutely.
to be in that presence of those panels. It had John Singleton, it had Brian J. White, it had whoever else was on there, Laz
Mm-hmm.
Alonso,
Mm-hmm.
Blair Underwood. They had like the biggest names there. And I'm
Yeah, they
sitting
did.
there. I
Mm-hmm.
had no idea what it was. Malik was just like, "Hey, let's hang out." And I'm sitting there, and the fact that there was a special festival for people in the entertainment industry, which can
Mm-hmm.
be very conniving and backstabbing and egotistical, it was really great to see people holding on to their faith and still making it in this industry.
Right.
So I think your book will tie into that as well.
I think
If you
so.
were
I think
following,
so. And I love
yeah.
Mega Fest, by the way. I went too. That was amazing.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's honestly, it hasn't been since that was the last time there was MegaFest. Because ever since I went, I was like, oh, I'm coming back here on my
Yeah.
own ticket. But
Yeah.
he hasn't done it anymore. It's in
Right.
Dallas, I believe.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that was great. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I met John Singleton. May he rest in peace. He was such an amazing person.
Yeah.
Moving on, I have a question. Let's see what this question is about. It's Ivari. I hope I pronounced that right. How do you break down songwriting barriers with different genres?
How do you break down songwriting barriers within different genres? That's a really good question. I'm not really known for being a songwriter. I do write, but I respect songwriters. I'm a singer, a vocal coach, bass player. I kind of do my own thing on my own, but I wouldn't really be. I don't think I'm equipped to kind of answer that
If I
and think I
may,
really know what the heck I'm talking about.
if I may, can I answer
You
that
may,
question? Not really answering it,
please.
but it's Ivari. I don't know who you are. Thank you for tuning in. I have a talk with a great songwriter, Curtis Richardson. I don't know if you know him, Romeo. He wrote for
I
Jennifer
don't think so.
Lopez, Rihanna, David Guetta. He wrote for everybody over all kinds of genres. Hit him up. His Instagram is Richam Music. Curtis Richardson. He has a whole wiki with his whole stuff. But I
There
am
you
also
go.
trying
Those are
to,
the type of people you want to talk to about that.
yes, but he's very, very good to talk to about songwriting. And I spoke to Miss Charlie Vaux. She's also a songwriter who wrote for everybody in the book. Her talk is viewable on my IGTV. I'm trying to invite Curtis back because we didn't record that one. It was a whole mess with Instagram at the time Corona started. So I'm trying to get him back on my live, and he will be able to answer all the songwriting questions. But feel free to hit up Curtis Richardson or Charlie Vaux about that question, because those are two really, really recognized and Grammy nominated people. So yes, that's for the songwriters if you need to ask questions. Your international workshops. What can you tell us about that?
So a few years ago, I had an artist come through, and she's about 15 years old. I started coaching her. She had done some classical training when she was young, and she wanted to become a pop R&B artist, and she wanted a vocal coach that could start to hone her craft in that area. And she told me she was competing in this international competition, and it was sort of like conducted almost like the Olympics, but it's for performing artists. And so I think I trained her for about 3 months, and then she went and competed with all these singers from all around the world. It's like 60 something nations, and she got a few, like 2 or 3 silver medals or something like that. So she did really well. And then the following year, I was contacted and asked if I would be a speaker and do workshops for that very same thing. It's an annual thing every July, not this year, of course, because of COVID. But every year I would speak to singers from like 63 different nations, and I get a chance to kind of talk to them about everything from vocal techniques to, how to navigate through the business, and all this. So it's been a great experience, and it also has been a blessing for me because I've always had a dream of teaching people across the globe. And for the past 5 years, I was doing that. I've been doing that.
Right.
I started off with Skype. Now I do it every day on Zoom. I have clients from all over the globe on Zoom every single day. But this enabled me to speak to groups of people, large groups, and before everyone got so hip to Zoom right now, I was doing Zoom for 5 years, and I was like, this whole concept is beautiful. So I'm kind of glad everybody's catching on to it. It's been very powerful for everyone. But that's enabled me to spread my brand across the globe, and it's been a blessing too, because a lot of my book sales are international, and it's been really touching and moving to see how people from different countries still get it, because that was my concern. I'm like, are they going to be able to understand what I'm saying? But yeah, I've gotten a lot of great feedback and testimonials. But that's what every year, and I speak to people from all over the world, from at least 63 countries, and from that, I've actually signed a couple of artists to start creating artists from them. There's one young lady that's about 16 years old in New Zealand. She's going to be something else. Her name is Verity. And then I have another young lady who's 10 years old, and she's going to be something else. I actually want to put her in some Disney stuff as well. Very powerful voice.
Cool.
And her name is Kiara. And she's from Indonesia.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's my parents' birth country.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah. Both my parents were born there.
Yeah. Amadeus.
I know.
Amadeus just checked in. What's up, bro?
Thanks for checking in, homie. We had to do another talk. Your professorship. We got like 11 minutes left.
Professorship. I've had a professorship, an adjunct professorship at USC, University of Southern California, for about 6 years. And that came, again, through relationship. I just I just had my house built in Las Vegas. I was moving from LA to Las Vegas, literally en route, taking my furniture, and I get a phone call from Patrice Rushen. And she says, Romeo, I want to talk to you about something. I was like, okay. And she said, would you consider a professorship at USC? I was like, oh my God, Patrice. I'm like, I'm literally moving to Vegas right now. She's like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no, like right now, I'm on the 15th. Like I'm moving. She's like, no way. And she said something that literally like brought me to tears. I said, listen, I appreciate, you don't even understand. I was like, I appreciate you for even thinking about me, even considering me. And she said, Romeo, I didn't consider anybody else. You're the only person I wanted to do this. And I was like, okay.
Aww.
No, but anyway, so I was like, what? So she goes, you know what?
No,
give me a minute. Right. She goes, give me a minute. And then she called me back in about 10 minutes. And she goes, I'm going to work something out. She said, I want you here because I really need what you do for these kids. And, you know, she said, we got great, super talented kids, which they are. The music program over there is bananas. It's really bananas. And so she said, these kids are super talented. We got some great instructors. The professors there are off the chain. You know, my man Sean Holt is killing over there. Patrice is killing over there. Paul Jackson Jr. is killing over. All these people, they got the greatest people instructing them. And she's like, I just need you to come and help these singers because they're talented. I just want you to help them with nuance and help them understand that extra thing that turns them, that keeps them from being a good singer and turns them into an artist. And so that's kind of what I do. I go there and help them, you know, with nuances, with vibe, with placement, with vowels, with everything. So everything
just
comes
basically
across
everything
properly.
you do normally. Before we run out of time,
This is bananas.
I still didn't get to address Queen Latifah. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm a huge fan of her, tell me one, if you have one, funny story or interesting story that you've experienced while touring with her.
Okay. Dang. Okay. Funny stories. I mean, I don't know. You know, I don't know about funny stories. The funniest ones I probably can't tell. But anyway, okay. No. I can't tell them. All right. So, should I tell that one, man? Oh man. I hope. I don't know if I should tell her. She might get mad at me on that one. It's not bad. It's just that.
Don't do that.
Okay. I'll say it. Okay. So here's the deal. I don't do strip clubs, right? That's just never been my thing. I'm not saying I've never gone to them, but it's just not my thing. I don't go to them. I got clients that were strippers. I'm cool with them. Do your thing. I just don't do it because one, I'm tight with my money. You know what I'm saying? Two, I ain't trying to pay you and I don't know you. You know what I'm saying? You don't get this. We don't even get to connect after
this. Is hilarious already.
But, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I ain't with it. You know, I'm about to pay. What am I pay you for and leave? Like, I don't even pay nobody to stay. I ain't gonna pay and leave. But anyway, so anyway, so they knew that that's not my thing, right? My assistant said that's the one. So
I know. I see her saying that. I'm like, yep.
Right. So we were in Atlanta, and they were like, man, we gotta.
Magic City.
We're gonna all go to a strip club. I was like, nah, y'all go ahead. I'm chilling, which I do everywhere I go. Right? Nah, I'm good. I'm not doing it. So they waited a day or two, and they put this thing out. I guess everybody was in on it, and they were like, listen, tomorrow at 3:00 or whatever, it was something in the afternoon. You know, we're gonna all go into dinner or to lunch, and you know, it's mandatory. You gotta go. You know, Dana's wanted to say thank you to everybody and just want, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, no doubt. And they named, I used to live in Atlanta. So we're going to all go to Papa Do's. I'm like, oh, Papa Do's, Papa Do's, Papa Do's. So I'm like, we go and get in the van and we're ready. I'm like, woo, Papa Do's. We about to throw down. So I'm
is
in
that
this big
the joint,
van.
though? Because I'm talking Magic City.
No,
right?
Papa Do's is a food place. Papa Do's is like a seafood place, right? So I'm chilling. And we're driving now. I used to live in Atlanta, so I'm like, wait, this is, excuse me, sir, this is not, I think you made a wrong turn. Papa Do's is, hello, sir? And I'm looking like, hey, y'all know we're going the wrong way, right? And everybody's like, next thing you know, we pull up to the strip club. I'm like, I'm not going.
You stayed in the
So they
car.
were like,
You stayed in the van.
they wouldn't let me. The driver was like, I'm coming out. I'm locking the car up. It's going to be no, it was hot. They were like, I can't leave the air on. I can't let the car run. So I'm like, y'all wrong, man. So I ended up having to go into the, it was so funny. And then Dana was like, you going? I said, I'm going. She said, so she gives me,
That's
please, Dana, don't kill me.
hilarious.
She gives me like a water, like 61. I'm like, you just gave me a
Did you
bonus.
use
I'm
them?
like,
Did you use them? What, you put them in your pocket and took it back home?
I refuse. I was like, no.
Come on now. So you basically
That's crazy.
stole her money. That was your spending
You
money.
know what I'm saying? Hey, I told her, that you just gave me a bonus. That's all. You know what I'm saying? I hit an
That's
extra high note
hilarious.
next time.
That's like
You know,
I
that's
got
crazy.
paid to go to the strip club.
You did, man. They clown me, but I ended up meeting a friend. I met a friend. I met a real friend.
See?
Talked to her for a while. Chilled. Yep.
A
I was
stripper
like, yep.
friend,
We sat and
or
talked for a second. She was a stripper. she was a stripper. I
you
just
didn't
fall in
even
love
give
with a
her
stripper, but I met a
those
friend.
ones?
Huh?
You didn't even give her those ones?
No. I didn't. No, she didn't. No. No.
Yeah, you
No.
are
I
tied up
kept
for
my
money.
ones. I kept my ones. I was like, these are my ones.
You are so funny. I swear, when I come
Hey.
visit you in Vegas, we going to the strip club.
Oh, look at you.
The last time I was in Vegas was for my birthday. It was a couple years ago. I think it was 2017, and we went gambling. I don't really gamble, but it was just fun. It was my birthday, and I got a little tipsy, and I wanted to go to the strip club. We didn't know nothing about a strip club in Vegas, so we ended up driving around in an Uber, and then I got tired. I was like, let's just go home. So I still want to go to the strip club in Vegas. We're going.
Yeah, I'll hook you up with a good female friend of mine. Y'all can go together somewhere. I'll even a male friend.
Listen,
I ain't going no. You're a bad influence. Look at you. I can see you're gonna be. You're gonna be one of those friends that's a bad influence.
We'll just go to Papa Do's.
We can go. I don't even know if it's a Papa Do's out here, but it's a whole bunch of good food. Right. That's so funny, man. You see, Daryl is tripping off of us, right?
Okay. Well, thank you for this story.
Wait. Before you go, I gotta show people what the book looks
like.
I'm
not going. Instagram's just gonna kick me off. Nah, we got a couple.
I'm hurry.
We got a couple minutes. Listen, people, I'm gonna take
it takes a second. Club. My house ain't that big.
Your house is big, man. You live in a mansion.
There you go.
Yes. Where can people get the book, y'all?
So you can get the book at romeojohnson.com.
Really?
And I will autograph. You can get it on Amazon too, but if you
get
want me
on his
to
website.
Autograph it.
Yeah, so he
you
can
have to go to the
autograph it.
website.
That's what I did. It's
yep,
only $15.
You sure did.
It's really cheap.
And I autographed it for you too.
Yeah. So it's more than $15 now.
You did.
If I'm ever starting to get homeless, I'm just gonna sell the book. Like, you know.
You doggone right. Instead of $15, it's worth about $20.
I got an autograph version.
You can get a good $20 for it with my signature.
Shut up. That's still 15 euros probably.
You did. Daryl said y'all got 3 minutes.
Well, no, we got 1.5. So what can you leave us with in 1 minute?
In 1 minute. Remember, if you're in this industry, you're going for this industry, one thing I always say to remember, people, whatever you do, whatever you have, it is a gift from God, not from any man, not from any paycheck. You bow down to no one. You do the best job you can do. You negotiate whatever you're going to get paid. You bring your best. You expect your pay. You respect people. You demand respect. Don't ever bow down for power, for position, for money. Anything that makes you feel like you're going against your integrity, anything that makes you feel like you can't sleep well at night, the money ain't worth it. You got to understand, I'm a believer. I don't know who everybody else is. I would rather lose whatever or piss people off than to feel like I can't look at God at night. That's what I'm going to leave you with.
So before I got 30 seconds left, I was going to give away a book. So I'm going to ask this question. Last week, somebody asked what was the biggest difference between touring with Janet and touring with Michael. If you can DM me the answer, you get a shot at winning the book. I'll pick a winner in the next few days. I got 14 seconds left. Romeo, thank you so much for this Great conversation again. Thank you,
Thank you
everybody,
so
for
much.
tuning in. And I'll hopefully see you guys next week for another talk. I'm about to get cut off. Bye, people.
Bye, Paige. Thank you.